Good defense, very good goaltending, and an offensive attack that is a little hit and miss. Yup, that was pretty much the Seattle Kraken that we expected to see coming into this season and got tonight. Though it has not necessarily been the team that we've seen so far to this point. Seattle teams and one-score games. Name a more iconic duo. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken do play a one-goal game with the St. Louis Blues, unfortunately coming out on the wrong side of it as they end up losing 2-1 for, yes, now their 8th consecutive loss. And the Kraken really have been playing a lot of these close one-goal games, give or take an empty net goal here and there, throughout the course of this season. Unfortunately, like the Seahawks this year, and unlike the Mariners surprisingly, they just have not been able to come out on top of very many of them. This game was the first meeting between the Blues and Kraken, which means Vince Dunn did get his first revenge game against his old team, and Jaden Schwartz unfortunately does not, as he is still out for another month with that hand injury that he had to get surgery on. And as also expected, the Kraken were still missing Morgan Geekie as he is still day-to-day, and Chris Driedger does get the start on the second day of the back-to-back, with Grubauer having started last night in Dallas. And with this game in particular, this is pretty much how I expected this game to go, with it being a pretty defensive battle, low-scoring game, with the Blues being, much like Dallas, a pretty veteran, solid defensive team. So then it was pretty much just up to whether or not Seattle could keep the puck out of their net to stay in it. And in this case, they were able to do that. Well, at least for most of the game anyway. It's a pretty back and forth, relatively low event game early on, with the Blues maybe having the slight edge, and they do end up getting the early power play, which, considering coming into this game, the Blues had the second best power play percentage in the entire NHL, that was something that the Kraken probably would have been best served not allowing the Blues get too many chances on. Unfortunately, as we'll find out as the game goes along, that doesn't really end up happening, but this first Blues power play is killed off very well by the Kraken, not allowing too many chances, and the ones they do allow, Driedger is able to stop. As we get more into the middle of the period, Donato at one point makes a very nice play in the offensive zone as the Blues are trying to exit to intercept a pass right at the blue line, collect it, and then get an odd man chance for the Kraken going back the other way. He actually takes the shot himself, tries to get it 5-hole, but the save is made. And then at the other end, Driedger has a very nice stop of his own on a shot that deflects in front of the net, and he is able to make the late correction as he was caught going from one side. The deflection goes back the other, but he does get his glove out to stop the deflected shot and keep the Blues from taking the 1-0 lead. And then not too long after that, it's the Kraken who do end up breaking the ice, and once again, it's Donato with another one of these 180 spinning wraparound tries from behind the net, like we saw right at the end of the game against Dallas. This one, once again, is saved, but it bounces off the pad of Husso out in front, where Wennberg picks it up and buries the shot to give the Kraken that 1-0 lead. And Wennberg gets the first goal for him in quite a while, just his 4th of the season. For Donato, it's his 6th assist on the season, and Carson Soucy also gets an assist on this one, his 7th. And then, shortly after taking the 1-0 lead, the Kraken get a chance on the power play to go up 2-0 and make this a first period to remember, especially considering how these first periods have been going for them so far to this point in the season. And it has to be said that even though it doesn't end up working out, this power play for the Kraken does try just about everything in their power to make that 2-goal lead happen, trying a number of times to connect on that same play that they scored on in Dallas, where the winger drops it to a guy on the goal line that shoots it right back up into the slot for the one-timer on goal. The Kraken tried this, I think, 3 times during just this one power play, twice again with Johansson being the guy on the goal line shooting out to Järnkrok, one of which Järnkrok fans on, the second one is saved, and then the second power play unit tries the exact same play, once again that is saved as well. And again, even though it doesn't end up working out for them this time, it does seem like Seattle has now found a play that really works for them on the power play and does create those high danger scoring chances with the one-timers from the slot. Eventually, more of these will go in as long as they can keep connecting on those passes, wing to goal line out in front, and then the shot on goal. And even though this power play doesn't end up working out, the Kraken would get one more very good grade A scoring chance just before the end of the first period when Gord collects the puck behind the Blues net and fires a pass right out to Appleton, who's wide open right next to the net. He gets a very good one-time shot off on net, but the save is made and we do get to the end of the first, mercifully for the Blues, just down 1-0. And by the end of the second period, it's still 1-0 Seattle, though this time it's Seattle who's lucky to escape a period without giving up a goal, thanks to a couple of big saves that Drieger makes 5-on-5, but moreover, the Kraken end up sending the Blues to 3 power plays throughout the course of the second. So yeah, remember that whole let's not send the Blues to too many power plays because they have a very good power play unit thing? Obviously someone missed the memo, as it's very much not working out that way. The first of those Blues power plays actually ends up coming off of one of those big Drieger saves, as a shot from one side of the net is saved by Drieger, but it rebounds over and past him to the other side of the net where it finds a Blues stick. The shot, though, Drieger is able to push off just in time to get his toe to the other side of the net to make that save, and then he goes to clear the puck before another rebound shot can be made with his stick, and that same Blues player looking for the rebound trips over it, and Drieger gets called for the penalty. So, yeah, a bit of a weird one, but Dunn ends up going to the box to serve it for Drieger, because obviously he's not going to do it, that's not what goaltenders do. Again, for anyone who's newer to the game, goaltenders are a bit like mob bosses in that they send other people to do time for their crimes, and that is what Dunn is doing here. The Kraken are able to kill off this power play successfully, and then Dunn, fresh out of the box, getting his first taste of freedom in a couple of minutes, just seconds later gets caught for high sticking, and with his ankle bracelet still not even off, is headed right back to the penalty box. This now second power play for the Blues of the period is also going to end up getting killed off successfully by Seattle, but not before they get a good shorthanded chance of their own going the other way, and it's Jonas Donskoy getting on a breakaway as he finds a puck at his feet when he hops over the boards to start his shift on the penalty kill, and takes it all the way to the net where he makes a very nice backhand to forehand play right in front of Husso, but Husso is able to just get his toe out enough to stop Donskoy from wrapping it around his leg and into the net, robbing Donskoy of, once again, what still would have been his first goal of the season. He would end up having a couple of more big shots later on in the third period, but still, he just cannot find that first goal in a Seattle Kraken uniform. And then finally, a little bit later on, it's Gio to the box for the third Blues power play of the period. For Gio, his second time in the box this game, both of which actually earned by him, unlike Dunn, who went once for the goaltender. Once again, though, the Kraken are able to kill off this third power play of the period and fourth of the game against the second best power play that the league has to offer. So, yeah, the penalty kill getting some good practice in here. We do eventually get to the end of the second after a couple of big chances by Eberle, both of which saved by Husso in the closing minute of the period, with the score still 1-0, and the Kraken on the second half of a power play that is split down the middle by the end of the second period. And so as we start the third, the Kraken have a 1-goal lead, looking for the first shutout in franchise history, and they get to start the period with a minute of power play, which, while usually having a power play split by a period intermission does help out the penalty killing team a little bit, it does at least give the Kraken a good chance to get a little bit of momentum to start off the third and get into the offensive zone at the very least, even if they don't end up scoring with just a minute left on that power play. Or so you would think, as right off the faceoff, the Blues get control and end up getting a couple of shorthanded chances off on Seattle before the power play ends up fizzling out and the Blues are able to maintain that momentum. And sure enough, just a minute and 30 seconds into the third, which, again, remember the Kraken had a power play for the first minute, so really this is 30 seconds of 5-on-5 time. It's Saad making a strong play towards the net, which he doesn't end up shooting on, but does pass from the goal line out and across to Thomas, who from the other side of the goal is able to put it in past Drieger, who can't get back to the other side in time, and the Blues tie it up 1-1 early on in the third. And the Blues are able to continue to build off of that momentum and get even more pressure and shots off on the Kraken net for the next couple of minutes, which doesn't end up leading to a goal, but does lead to a 5th Blues power play. And for the Kraken, it ends up being 1 power play too many, as this 5th power play from a team who was scoring on 30% of their power plays coming into this game does score just seconds into it to give the Blues the 2-1 lead. And just like that, everything the Kraken had built through those first 2 periods, with one of their best first periods of the season so far, and then a pretty solid second period all things considered, has all come crumbling down as the Blues have come back to take that 2-1 lead. And for most of the rest of the game from here, it's a pretty back and forth fight between the two teams. The Kraken do make a late push, and with 2 minutes left in the game, end up getting a power play to close things out, halfway through which they do pull Drieger to get the 6-on-5 opportunity. And although they are able to get a number of shots off on net, nothing ends up getting past Husso, and the Blues close this one out to win 2-1 in regulation. For the Kraken, in this one, like I said in the intro, they did play very solid defensive hockey really throughout the entire thing, not allowing too many high danger chances. As you can see from the heat map of the chances the Blues did get off on the Kraken net, there's a nice little empty space there where that slot area is that the Kraken were keeping the Blues out of. And especially with those first 4 power plays that they were able to kill off, again against a very good power play team, this was one of the better defensive efforts that Seattle has had all season long. And in net, Drieger did his job very well on top of that, with a few big saves that stopped pucks that absolutely could have gone into the net. And ultimately, the 2 that do go in, one of them is about as good of a scoring chance as you're gonna have, with a crossing pass from behind Drieger across to the other side in front of him. And that's just one that you're not going to see too many goaltenders stop, period, regardless of who it is. And the second goal, it's the 5th power play of the game against, again, I've said it a number of times, but the 5th power play against the 2nd best power play team in the entire NHL. So, I mean, what do you expect when you give a team like that many opportunities with a man advantage? And honestly, with the offense, I didn't think they played terribly there either. Obviously, they only end up getting 1 goal, and you'd like to see more than that, especially considering the defensive and goaltending effort that they got at the other end of the ice. But they did get a number of pretty high danger grade A scoring chances, and a lot of shots off close to the net, where usually they tend to take more shots from closer to the blue line, which are lower percentage shots. But in this game, that wasn't so much the case. The problem was that the Blues responded with some good defense and good goaltending of their own. So really, with this game, I think it just boils down to the fact that the Kraken got beat by a better team, and I don't think there's really any shame in saying that the Blues are a better team than the Kraken. Even with the Kraken having played up to their potential to this point in the season, I think that was probably going to be the case anyway. This is a very experienced, good Blues team. And now, as this tough 3-game road trip for the Kraken comes to an end, where they played the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best home teams in the NHL, it honestly feels like a bit of a window into the Kraken season, where in 2 of the games they played very well and stayed with a couple of the better teams in the league, ultimately falling just a little bit short in both the games. And then the 3rd game, they did play well for a large chunk of it, but just came out of the gates a little slow and gave up a lead early on that they weren't able to claw back from. And that's pretty much how the season's felt. The Kraken have been in the vast majority of the games that they've played so far to this point in the season. Just too many times those close games have ended up going the other way. And I mean, honestly, as I look at this season so far, looking at it game by game, there haven't been too many games where I felt like the Kraken have just been a terrible team and looked like one of the worst teams in the NHL. Again, the vast majority of these games they have been in and played well pretty much up until the end of it. Unfortunately, they've just come out on the wrong side of far too many of those, and when you look at the whole picture, well, they're a 10, 22, and 5 team that is one of the worst 5 teams in the league by record. So, 37 games into the season, if you want to be frustrated or angry with this team and how they've played to this point in the season, Well, you've got 22 very good reasons to feel that way. Meanwhile, if you do want to look at the season glass half full, at the very least, the Kraken have been an entertaining team to watch in the vast majority of their games. Even if, again, most of those don't turn out the way that we'd like them to, they still have been fun to watch and been in the vast majority of those games. I mean, it's not like they're the Arizona Coyotes who took until well past their 30th game to even get a multi-goal lead at any point in the season, so yeah, it could be a lot worse than the Kraken. But with that, I think I am going to call it for this one, so do feel free to let me know down in the comment section which side of this season you fall on, or maybe just what you felt about this game specifically. And if you did join me for the live stream, thank you again very much for joining for that. And if you have made it to the end for this one, thank you for getting to this point. And if you did like or enjoy this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below that I would appreciate you using to help support the channel. Sorry, my light went off on the side there. And until next time, stay safe out there. Be good to each other, even if you don't agree on how to feel about this Kraken season so far. And go Kraken.